The Beef and Barnzy Show, brought to you by Bowlersmart.com, trusted by bowlers around the world since 2004. By Lightning Strikes Bowl, home of Bowlers Mart Pro Shop. By Platinum Ford, drive the difference. By Fire Lake Bowling Center, 24 state-of-the-art lanes. By True Grit Coatings, drive on our passion. By Roll to Grip, king of them all. By 900 Global, striking worldwide.
What's going on, friends? How are we doing this Thursday morning? So, Chris is on the way to bowl Nationals / Senior US Open / Senior Masters, maybe. So we won't have Chris today. I thought I would come on quickly, do some chat with you guys a little bit about Nationals, Arsenals, chat with you about what we've got coming up in the next couple of weeks on the channel, and generally just chill out for a little while. So obviously tomorrow is the big day for video drops for the Cell Ball, the XL, and the new Ion Pro. So we will chat about that a little bit. How are we doing, Nico? Hey, Corey, what's going on? I'm good. Hey, Adam, nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. Kirk, how are we doing? So yeah, so that's kind of what I've got planned for us for the next, 30 or 40 minutes. Like I say, Chris recorded his videos yesterday. I'm having some issues getting on lanes at the minute, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to get my videos put together. It'll probably be the start of next week now, for me. But for Chris, his kind of like one take videos, they're pretty easy to put together. So I anticipate getting them finished today without too much trouble. And I will have those up for you guys to watch. We got the Ion Pro, of course, and the XL. Early indications from what I've seen so far. I actually like these way more than any of the other AI core balls so far. Like I say, for me personally, they are, I would say the Ion Pro does fit the gap, like they were talking about, between the Phase 2 and the IQ Tour. The Cell, I think that was going to be one of my favorites. So, anybody get any questions? Let's fire in with some questions. So my weekend went pretty well. I went over to Houston, or Pasadena, which is basically Houston, on Saturday. I bowled the SASPA doubles, which is a senior bowlers club. Yes, Nico, the scores were pretty high, right? It's a senior bowlers club in Texas. They bowl in a couple of the neighboring states. But anyway, fantastic down the lanes for me. I shot 450 over the 8 games. Me and my partner, Nick, led. I used the XL for the first, I think, 4 games, and then switched into the Ion Pro. Like I say, those balls seem to complement each other pretty well. The XL for me is in the same kind of ballpark for overall hook as the Absolute Power. Hey, Jeremy, you're saying what solid could fit the gap between a Harsh Reality and an Optimum Idle? I think this XL could actually fit that gap pretty nicely. Absolute Power would also fit that gap for me. It's a little bit difficult because the Optimum Idle has so much cover. So the Optimum Idle may well be a little earlier than the ball you fit in the gap. But the ball that fits in the gap might hook more overall, if that kind of makes sense. Um, so anyway, yeah, we led the qualifying, came back on Sunday. Lanes were a little drier through the middle. I didn't make a good. It took me a little while to figure out what we wanted to do because you bowl Baker doubles. My partner struggled a little bit. I didn't strike quite as much as I did the previous day, and we ended up coming sixth. But anyway, change of plans for the Monday. We were going to enjoy Monday at home, but turned out, spun it back, went back to Houston, bowled an NDO event. Ended up taking the lead there also. I think I shot 1440, 1430, something like that for the 6 games. Yeah, sorry. Anyway, so did that. Led qualifying, used the Ion Pro mainly for the 6 games. Threw in a little bit of absolute power towards the end. Won my first match because I got a buy through to the top 4. Unfortunately, couldn't find the reaction on the last pair and was taken out by John McGee. So congratulations to him. But a nice day, second place finish over there. So pretty good overall weekend for me. Got to use both both of those new balls and get an idea of what they were doing in 2 different houses. So that was pretty good. Both balls seem to go through the pins really well on the house shot, which for me for the next few months is quite critical. So, hey Dalton, what's going on? No, I mean yes, because it's got the same core, Connor. Well, I mean the same initial core because they've put the AI core on the AI technology on the outside of it, so the weight block in the middle is the same. The XL for me is cleaner than the Hypercell would be. So it's a bit closer, more reminiscent of the original cell rather than the Hypercell. Hey Cal, when did this become the double boomer channel? I don't even understand. Is that insulting or not? I honestly don't understand. I don't know what that means. So, hey Pat, going well. Hey, how's it going, Nick? Thanks for the tip. Dale Bernard, lots of sets on tour and in regionals. What do you think makes him stand out amongst all the young bowlers? Yeah, we were discussing this a little bit the other day. Dio is quite quite level-headed. He doesn't seem to get too frustrated while he's bowling, and I think that allows him to continue to make good shots. I think that sometimes he might revert to the backup ball a little bit too quickly. But yeah, in general, I think that Dio's ability to stay quite grounded, not get distracted by what's going on when it's not necessarily going his way, helps him quite a bit. And he's bowling great. So first time I bowled league at Carolier this season, and I could have bowled better though, Stu, to minimize spares. I love the competition. Nice. Well, keep getting that spare ball working, Adam. Yeah, but I was bowling as the guest. I wasn't a senior. So not yet. Yeah, I mean, some people like that one. I like the original cell better. So yeah, I'm sure Wes Malott will be happy to see that one. If that one does come around. Is he extremely good at spares? I don't know. I don't really follow that much. He doesn't. Whenever I'm around him, he doesn't leave many spares. Any advice for you for nationals? I imagine it's going to be the fast pitch and the pitch black, Gene. But I mean, yeah, we'll get to that. I'm not sure what a lefty should do though. All right, Maycock. Raymond, playing on Main Street this week in Sport League, one-handed right-hander, 15 miles an hour, 300 RPMs on this. Let me bring it up. Because I don't really know what Main Street is. So let's have a look. Let's see if we can find it. Main Street. Are you on version 2 or version 1? That's the question. It doesn't look like it. Whoa. Well, Main Street isn't a sport pattern. Yeah, Raymond, are you sure? Because Main Street is like 12 to 1. Yeah, 12 and a half to 1 is Main Street, 41 foot. So to me, this is like fairly much like a standard house shot. I mean, yeah, I would stand somewhere around with what you're saying, the 350 miles an hour. I would stand somewhere around 10 and see what the lane's telling me. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that there's a lot to say about Main Street, really. I'm a little confused as to why that one would be in a sport league, to be honest, because that isn't a sport pattern at all. So it's 41 feet, and it's maybe a slightly higher volume than some of the other sport patterns, house shots. So I would start around second arrow, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to find where you see the oil, the hold at. So you're just going to follow it in a little bit at a time, until you can define exactly where the hook is to the right and where the oil is to the left. And then that should allow you to make decisions on whether you want to play the hold or whether you want to play the hook. Me personally, with your rev rate and speed, I would be looking to play the hold. So yeah. Yeah. So good luck with that. Yeah. Like I say, I would try and play straight around 10 or 12. But it should be pretty high scoring. So I don't think there's too many tricks to doing well on that, to be honest. Hey, Scary. Why am I better on sports shots than house shots? I think it's because you're probably using a little bit too much speed and playing a little too close to the head pin. On the house shot, I think that you are better finding a ball where you can have both miss left and miss right. Whereas on a sport shot, you're going to usually decide to have one or the other. So, yeah. So on the house shot, I think that if you have a slightly slower speed and you're more in the oil, you can kind of create left and right a little easier. Corey, big Stu fan, of course, but also a big Prather fan. Yep. Any thoughts on his game going forward? Seems to have a good end to the season, but sort of struggled for a while there. Yeah, I think Prather was just having a few. He had a few mental issues going on, and he was a bit unsure about what he was trying to do. And I think that the picture after Vegas became a little clearer. And yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about Prather. I think he'd be all right. For me, Maycock, the absolute power is good on quite a lot of things. It's pretty much my benchmark ball. if the lanes are really tight, I can put a bit of surface on it and use it. And if the lanes are like hooking a bit, I can use a shiny one. So for me, it's a very versatile ball. Can use it on a lot of different things. Larry says, about to say Main Street is a typical house shot. Pretty close. For me, I don't know. It just matches up to the release changes I want to make. I think it works really well for me for doing that, like for changing my release. I think it's pretty responsive to like different angles. It's just a really versatile ball. Um, Almost everybody's in an oval thumb. Yeah, that's what we bought on at Mel's. Thanks for the super chat, Ray. Appreciate you. Would the road be a good fit for a two-hander 18? I mean, all balls would be a good fit for something. Depends what you want to bowl on. Yeah, I mean, it could be. Depends on which balls you've got and what you're trying to bowl on. So anyway, nationals. From what I've seen and when I bowled, the team event is certainly the shorter of the two patterns. I feel like you have to get the ball away from the head pin quite a bit on that pattern. To start with, there isn't very much hold, but there isn't really any hang on the gutter from what I've seen. So getting the ball to 3, 4, 5 doesn't seem to be too much of a problem. So like I say, for me, having a bit more of an open angle to try and create that fake hold, so almost creating hold with angle is the key. Once you get a little bit of carry down, that might or the pattern stretches, however you want to call it. Once you get that stretched, you're going to be able to chase it in a little bit and have a little bit of hold. A couple of guys have used urethane to do that and have done quite well. That pattern is quite tricky and you've got to be patient with it. I think if you chase it too far left too soon, you'll just end up messing the lanes up pretty good. I feel like that's actually the same for both patterns. Flipping over to the doubles and singles pattern, I think as far right as you can stand is the best scenario for that. I think having straighter angles is really good on that pattern. I think it's really easy to get the ball behind the head pin with it getting too far down the lane. I don't think you need to use particularly strong balls. Like for me, absolute power and the DNA coil were ideal for that pattern. Yeah, I just think that keeping it straight through the front part of the lane gives you better angles going through the pins. So if you can do that and then just chase it a little bit left as you go, I think that's going to be the best scenario. Most of the people who've been scoring have been right of third arrow by the time they finished. So yeah. So that is pretty much that in relation to the nationals. If I was to figure out the 6 balls that I was going to take again, I would probably take my spare ball, and I think I might actually take the 78, the IQ 78, rather than the pitch black. And then I would probably take, now that it's available, I'd probably take now that it's available to me and to you guys in like 3 weeks, I would take an Ion Pro. I think that would be a little bit smoother than the phase 2, than the IQ Tour that I had. I think that would be a good option on the team pattern. So that would be me at 3. Then I would obviously take the absolute power and the DNA coil. And then I might actually take another absolute power and have it shiny. And I might have changed, once the DNA coil started to go away, I might have changed back to an absolute power and just gone with a shiny one. So that would have been the balls that I would have gone with. I don't think that you need anything super strong this year. Yeah, so medium balls have been pretty good. I've no idea, Adam. I don't look at Belmo's balls. I look at my own. So no idea, mate. Not a clue what Belmo sees those balls. Don't know why you think I would know. Sorry. So if you wanted something that was a little longer, you could consider the or God, what's it called? The exponent pearl. Or with you having the higher rev rate, because you said you had, sorry, I've lost your first chat. You said you had like 18 miles an hour and max revs. The other ball that you could consider is the lightning blackout. That would be another good option. All right, Stuart. Thank you very much for the super chat. Wow. Good evening. EBT Brunswick Euro Challenge coming up in July. Arsenal is Magic Gem, Journey, Vibo, IQ 78, and a spare ball. He says 15 to 17 miles an hour, pretty high rev rate. Okay. Looking for another symmetrical ball option. Like, to me, this is screaming out for phase 2. I would also consider another urethane. If your rev rate's as high as that. I think pitch black might give you something off the IQ 78. Especially on the European tour. A lot of urethane gets used. If you're not handcuffed to a brand, you could also consider a different option for the urethane ball. But yeah, like if you're looking for another symmetrical option, I think that the gap between Magic Gem and Journey is too big, and you need something smoother, especially with your rev rate. I would consider a phase 2. Even though it's kind of asymmetrical, I think the Ion Pro would be also a decent option in there. XL, yeah, it would fit that gap, but like I say, I think that you're looking for something symmetrical, and that's definitely asymmetrical. Whereas the Ion Pro is a little in between. So yeah, I would consider putting something in there, like between the Magic Gem and the Journey, and by far the most obvious option is the phase 2. Journey, Vibo, and I personally, I think there's a pretty big gap between the Vibo and then the urethane. So yeah, I think adding a phase 2 and an Iron Pro could be good options. Other balls to consider. Let me just bring up the website in case I'm missing anything. Because sometimes it's a little difficult to remember everything. I mean, instead of the phase 2, you could do a optimum idle also. That wouldn't be a bad option. That's another ball that's kind of smooth. So that would be another good option. With your rev rate and everything, Hustle X-Ray might also be a decent option, something a little closer to the IQ 78. These are all balls just looking at the website that makes sense to me. And then if you saw one on closeout, an Exponent Solid would be another good ball. I think that between the Journey and the Vibo, you've got a couple of balls that are fairly angular there. So I think you're looking for smoother balls overall to add If you've got any more questions, just follow up. And I'll answer them, obviously. Thanks again for the super chat. That was very generous. Yeah. If you got any more questions, just put them in. And then if you want, you can send me an email, beefandbarnzy@gmail.com if you got any more questions also. So thanks again, Stuart. Dan, good morning. Recently on a sports shot league, we bowled on the Sydney pattern 33 feet. It was the 2020 Team USA Women's Day 4. Some people use urethane, others swore by toy dynamics. That pattern's really difficult. It being 33 feet, it's pretty short. And I think it's pretty flat also. So for me, I would have probably been using urethane until the pattern kind of broke down. Tour dynamics, for me on the fresh would have been fine. I think I'd have found the urethane a little easier to control. But yeah, that's that's a tough pattern. David, do you think the tour dynamics would work at nationals this year on either pattern? I could see it being pretty useful on the team pattern. I think that I think that on something else, I think the singles and doubles, I think there's a little bit too much oil, and I think the lanes are a little bit easier. And the tour dynamics for me isn't a ball that I want to use when the lanes are easier. It's more of a control the pocket type of ball. So yeah. Hey, Caitlin. Hey, Stu. Quick question for you. What ball would you suggest for Dalton's next purchase that I have to try and talk him out of? I think Dalton's an Ion Pro guy, so that would be the next one. But he can't buy it for another 3 weeks, so you've got plenty of time to talk him out of it. But yeah, the Ion Pro I think would be a pretty good option for Dalton. Hey, 3G's Bees, do you have a question? But I appreciate the tip. Yeah, if you have a question, just let me know. Besides throwing it better, what tip do you have when you start missing right in a game? Generally when I'm missing right, it's because my timing is a little late. So I lean forward because I'm trying to catch up, and that makes my shoulder rotate too early, and then I get on the side of it. And because I've got on the side of it, it doesn't pick up as soon, so it shoots to the right. That's generally my issue when I'm missing right. So trying to keep the shoulder back and letting the ball come through. Otherwise, I would just tend to move a little right and kind of lean into the fact that I'm missing right so move right a little bit to try and straighten my angle up to see if I can get away with it that way. That's kind of something you can do to cheat with on the house shot, where the lanes are a little easier. And if you're kind of throwing it out the window, if you move a little closer to the problem, you might be able to get it to pick up a little sooner and, at least control the pocket on your bad shots. Thanks, Stu. I'm glad it worked out. Let me know if you need anything else. Larry, 202, baby. Yeah. I mean, as long as it's at the pro-am, I mean, most of the guys are pretty relaxed. As long as they don't have their ball, like they're taking their bowling balls out to competition or whatever. It's probably a little easier. The best scenario is wait till they've done for the day, and if they've done well, that's obviously the best time to meet them. But if you get out there on practice day, most guys are fairly accommodating once they finish practicing. What's going on, Marshall? Got the win over at Plano. Congrats for that. Marshall, one of the good bowlers in Dallas. He won the Monday sweeper up in Dallas at Plano Super Bowl. They moved it from Louisville, where the lanes were a little more challenging, and that made it less appealing to me. And sure enough, there was a bunch of 1400s. Plano is a pretty easy house to strike at. But I think Marshall bowled almost 1500, so congrats to him. Nice little payday on a holiday Monday. I only like it. I like it. I end up. I know they've had some issues in recent times with the machines, but it's a little bit of a more difficult house. And it's one of the places that's good for me and bad for everybody else. So, yeah, I love tournaments over at Louisville. That's good for me. I always make money at Louisville. So, any other questions? If not, I am going to try and get on with my editing for the day. Try and get Chris's videos up. Maybe get one up tonight and then one up in the morning. Casey, love my high road. Night road has me scratching my head a lot. Tried a few different serves and still meh. Any ideas? Yeah, I mean, I feel like the night road is a little earlier, but a little smoother than the high road. I really like the night road. I had it shiny and it was really good for me. So I feel like it's a little more continuous than the high road. So yeah, the little stronger cover for me was quite useful. But I could see if you really loved the high road, night road wasn't really the same shape. So yeah, it's just you just got to see it as being a little earlier and a little more rounded than a high road. Hey, Glenn, receive the ball. Awesome. Good luck. Make sure your pro shop operator doesn't drill it too weak, though. That would be my suggestion with that. 4-inch pin maybe on that one. Hey, Adam, to combat my low rev rate without throwing the urethane ball on short pants because of my. Do you have any other suggestions for me as being able to control the back? Yeah, I mean, it's more about direction of roll, Adam. So if you can get it going more end over end, I think any of these solid smoother balls are going to be okay. If you want to try something a little different, you could drill maybe a 2-inch pin or something. So a pin closer to the axis, like a phase 2, maybe something like that, that you can kind of tumble and keep a little bit more in front of you. So they would be a couple of options you could try. Or you could just embrace the urethane. Be like every other lefty. Yeah, I know that feeling. What's your next big tournament? I'm not really bowling very much in June unless I can find some tournaments on Sundays. My son has swim meets on Saturdays. So our Saturdays just become very busy all the way through June. So yeah, I don't actually know. It might be the regional down in San Antonio. Right now it is the absolute power, but I think the XL might run it real close. I've had so much success with the nucleus core that I was a little skeptical when when they added the AI tech to it. But so far it's been money for me. So yeah, either the absolute power or the XL for me. Both of those are great. Take one ball, you're left-handed. Yeah, these new XL and the Ion Pro, I actually am pretty excited about both of them. Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty excited for both of those. I think the Ion Pro is a little closer to the IQ Tour than it is the Phase 2 when it's fitting in between, but That's not a bad thing. That's just the way it fits. Yeah. Ooh, bless me. Okay. I wouldn't get a urethane for spares. The next Phelps, yeah, he just loves it. Like, no, he doesn't bowl. Doesn't bowl yet. It is excellent, and I would place it in a similar spot to the Absolute Power and overall hook. I think it's a little more rounded and a little more continuous than the Absolute Power. The Absolute Power is a little more um, angular, I think. So it certainly the Absolute Power certainly stands up a little harder. Somebody asked me about. I guess it's gone. The other ball that I really like at the minute is the DNA coil. It's just not quite as versatile as the Absolute Power, but when it works, that's the best ball on the world in the world for me at the minute. So, um, yeah, I'm really excited about those three balls. In fact, Tony Nationals question: any good intel about lane play, the left side for team event? Ready myself for all the hate. Hey Tony, no hate. We didn't really have a lefty in our group, so it was hard. It was hard for me to really struggle. Yeah, I don't know. From what I've seen, it hasn't been great on the left side. Um, but yeah, I I don't really want to guess for you because I don't know, and I didn't really collect enough data to know um, one way or the other. So sorry. Hey Charles, how much will you use the lightning? How much will the lightning blackout see for you this summer? I do agree the Iron Pro is going to be pretty good. So far, the lightning blackout isn't one of my favorites. I just don't really like the low diff balls. The Ion Pro for me is right on the borderline of having enough flare, but with it being a little asymmetrical, it kind of helps it also. Um, yeah, like for me, the Lightning Blackout, there's just so many other balls that I could use. So I'm going to continue playing around with it with a little bit of surface, and I drilled another one with a slightly stronger pin that looks a little better. But so far for me, I just see it as um, not quite strong enough for me. And then once I move left, it's almost a little early when I get my speed down with having the slightly stronger cover. My wife quite likes it. She uses it off her couple of hustles that she likes, and it's a decent step up for her off those. For me, I'm never really using balls with super low diff. I kind of like the stronger balls with weaker pins. So yeah, that's how it's got for me. I've seen it work really well for a few people. I know Chris likes it a lot more than I do. Chris really likes those low diff balls. Um, they've never really low diff balls have never really floated my boat that much. Just the misses I have off my hand are much better when I've got more flair. I think that the coil is kind of similar, but I think that the coil is cleaner and more angular. I know this is going to sound a little daft for some people, a little strange for some people. But the darker colors on the DNA coil, I think, make it a little bit cleaner. I think I wouldn't be surprised if those covers are in the same family. But the exotic gem for me stands up way earlier. And then I feel like it gets a little more forward, where I think that the DNA coil is a little cleaner. And I don't think it's quite as jerky when it starts. So, yeah. Tommy, thanks for the super chat. Tips for straightening out your swing. I keep going behind my back, push away, or shoulder alignment. All of the above and footwork. If you twist too much, that can cause it. Um, and then, like for me, I've always believed that the straighter you push away, the straighter it'll come back. And as long as you can keep your feet out of the way and not kind of walk into your swing, you're going to be fine. So film from behind and see what your feet are doing. Make sure that they're kind of going this way or a little to the left. You want them to be. You don't necessarily want to cross over, but you also don't want to be like stepping this way to the right because you're stepping into your swing, and then that bumps your swing out and it comes behind your back. So I think that the most important things are going to be the push away and your footwork and keeping your feet kind of straight or a little bit to the left so that the ball can come straight back and straight through. So, Mark Baker is my answer to a lot of these questions because Mark he's able to answer those so quickly and help you and tell you immediately just by looking at the video one or two times. So yeah, he's a really good resource if you want to send him videos on his website. Jim, do you see any balls out there that might have the manufacturing longevity as the Phase 2? Well, the Venom Shock has been out there for quite a while. That's another one that's been out for, quite a bit. I think that some of the companies have different I think market forces have kind of, dictated that the having more balls come out having more balls come out is best for their business. I don't know. I don't look at the numbers. So that might make it a little more difficult. I feel like most of the balls that are around for a long time are symmetrical. There aren't that many asymmetrical balls that end up being in multiple product catalogs. The Reality was around for three or 4 years. That one was really good. The Gem seems to be hanging around pretty good. But yeah, that's the part of it that's a little challenging, and you just never know what's going to catch fire and what's going to make customers want to keep on buying, because that's the key to a ball staying around for a long time is obviously support from the customers and consumers. Yeah, you could sand it. I don't think I don't think smoothing it out with weaker pads makes that much difference. Yeah, I'm not sure Mark's going to analyze a video for a $5 super chat, but I mean, you could try. The XL definitely isn't going to be as strong as, say, Gem or Harsh Reality. It's going to be a step below those. So yes, because I feel like a lot of people get the strongest ball, but they don't bowl in centers that have enough oil on the lane to use them. So they spend a lot of time with their ball burning up. And once the balls start burning up, they don't really hook as much as they think they should. And then they kind of end up throwing bad shots to try and make them hook. Whereas by trying to make them hook more, they're actually making them burn up more. So it's making the problem worse, if that makes sense. So for me, I think a lot of people would be better with an Absolute Power or an XL for 75 or 80% of the times they bowl. I think that the Gem and the Harsh Reality are more limited balls. So, yeah. You think the 2.0 hybrid? Yeah, I mean, it's lasted a year. So, I mean, seems to be a popular ball. I guess it's coming on 18 months now. So yeah. Dakota, the most arrogant man in bowling. When are you going to get the greatest to ever do it on here? Can't really have a show without me on it. I mean, I really feel like I can. I mean, I really feel like I can. This is the man who works for a shoe company but doesn't slide. You don't slide, do you, Dakota? Heel toe still? DNA call on V-Bell do the construct. Yep. I think so, yeah. For me, the coil, you could crack the surface a little bit. And that would that would make them a little bit more of a gap. But yeah, the coil is much smoother. Picks up earlier. The V-bow is super long. So yeah. For me, I think that I think the coil would be a good complement to the V-bow. Detox, I think, is a pretty good product that some of the pro shops have. You take it in and they put it in the hot water bath. Yeah. I mean, I have you can kind of do that yourself. It's not quite as useful because it I guess the detox machine, like the water somehow I don't really know how to explain it, but the water almost sort of like it shakes the oil out. It's kind of odd, but I think that product, I think that system is quite good. But you could try a bucket of soapy water, a hot water, and dipping the ball in it and seeing how much oil comes out. That would be a decent solution. Um, so yeah, but if the pro shop has a detox, I would try that at least once. Um, uh, the XL is quite a bit weaker than the proton physics for me. Again, the XL, from my understanding anyway, has the pure reactive cover. It doesn't have any of the nano in it. So the XL is more like the absolute power cover. Whereas the proton physics is the super beefed up nano cover, which is probably another couple of layers now when you're looking at gem or um, harsh reality. They have covers from the same family, so to speak. Those super strong covers. So for me, the XL is quite a bit cleaner than the proton physics. Glad you appreciate me, Dakota. Glad you appreciate me. Wild Streak. Oof. The Wild Streak was a very, very, very niche ball. Like super high RG, kind of an early cover. Yeah. Simo kind of used that one quite a bit, but he was about the only one. Yeah, always good to wait for Bowl Expo. There's always going to be new balls coming there. Is the absolute power cleaner than the XL? I think so. From what I've seen so far, I don't necessarily have a lot of. I've only used the XL a couple of times, so. But from my kind of looking at it, I think the absolute power is a little cleaner than the XL. Yeah. There you go. It's a giant jewelry cleaner. Detox shocks the water. Yeah. So, I don't know. We should have done, but that come out during the tour season, so it was a little difficult. Maybe I'll try and record a video of some of the balls that I've liked over the last 3 or 4 months. If in my videos, I try to focus in on 5.5-inch pins. 5.5-inch pins, 4.5-inch mass bias, and a 3-inch buffer. For these two new balls that have just come out, I ended up doing slightly different layouts. Just because the diff was so much lower on the ion that I didn't want to get it too weak. And I hadn't necessarily been loving all of the AI core balls, so I went a little weaker on the XL. No, I haven't really had a chance to get into the bowling center. Chris has recorded his, and that's what I'm going to do as soon as I get off here. Tomorrow is the embargo day, so we're really supposed to put them up tomorrow. So you will see Chris's Ion and Ion Pro and XL videos tomorrow for sure. I'm going to try and record some stuff today, and I'm going to try and do a different format for mine. So I'm going to try and get some different shots and a bit of talking head stuff with it, just to see if that resonates a little better. Okay, Adam. Yeah, the Ion Pro is going to be quite a bit cleaner than the Optimum Idol for me. That is the hardest thing in bowling, to recognize when the ball is burning up or when it's reading too early. When it's just not picking up enough. For me, the easiest tip for doing that, especially if you're in the bowling center in practice, throw a weaker ball, and if the weaker ball hooks more, you know that the ball's burning up. If you go to the weaker ball and it still doesn't hook, then the odds are that you probably need something a little stronger, a little more surface. So, it also could be that you're not getting the ball into the right part of the lane. But yeah, if the weaker ball hooks more, then you know the ball you're throwing is burning up. Yes, I think it could be for most people. I think most people don't necessarily need the harsh reality or the gem, uh, especially if they're not super speed dominant. So, all right, guys. Well, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thanks for all those who contributed to the show today via super chats or questions. Hopefully, you guys all have a great weekend. Please be on the lookout for our videos. If you could like them, if you could comment, if you could tell us why you're going to buy one or not going to buy one, that would be awesome. I will see you on Tuesday. Chris will have bowled nationals, so we can try and figure out, talking to him a little bit about what he saw at nationals. And with that, let's thank the sponsors that make this show happen. They are Storm, Rotogrip 900, Global, Coolwick, Bowlers Mart, Turbo, Firelight Bowling Center, Platinum Ford, Lightning Strikes. Thanks, all of you guys. Thank you. Thanks for all of the support you give us. And we will see you next time. Take care, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.